The Brothers Karamazov, Book 10, Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, we just go even deeper into Kolya's life that we met in the previous chapter. And deeper into his life means knowing who also lives at his house, who lives at his residence. Seems like his mom has a friend of the exact same age, a woman who has been abandoned by her doctor husband, heard from him 6 months ago, and that was the last communique. So it seems like he has left this woman and their 2 children alone. And what's more, on top of that, they had a servant maid who has gone and gotten herself pregnant, and only just the other night has said that she's going to start that life as a mother. And I guess no one could have predicted it. I guess she didn't show too much. And so now this poor doctor's wife is now alone without anyone to watch her kids. And so she is off, and the maid at the house, the servant at the house, is off at the market. And so now Kolya is left to watch this 8-year-old girl and even younger boy. In other words, he is babysitting. And now we see him more with these littler kids. We've seen him in all these other relationships in the previous chapter with his mom, his teacher, the other kids at school, his more closely related age, his peers, with his pets, and with himself. And now in this chapter, we see how he is with these younger kids and with this maid when she finally returns home with the groceries. But first, with the kids, we see that he engages their talk of where they hear babies come from these peasant maids, and evidently these peasant maids have told these kids, who are the kids of a doctor, that babies come from cabbage gardens, and the little 8-year-old girl thinks this is doubtful because cabbages don't grow in the winter, and it's a cold November morning, and so we know that cabbages don't grow in the winter, so that can't be true. And Kolya sort of condescends. He knows where babies come from. He's no fool. He's a mature 13-year-old boy, and yet, as a good babysitter, he's not going to give this little girl a real birds and the bees talk. And so he comes up with an alternate story about how maybe the storks place the babies with only wed mothers, not those unwed mothers. Place the baby in the cabbages. We see him playing not this time, but he's known to play childish games, not because he's childish. He wants that to be made quite clear, but because he knows how to be a good babysitter. So he'll play horsey with him, he'll play dress up with him, but not because he's a child, but because he's so old. He's a good babysitter. He shows them a toy cannon. He wants to show them the tricks that his dog can do. He can play dead, and it's a real laugh. And so, in other words, the insight into Kolya's character we get from these kids is that he, on the inside, very likely wants to do kid stuff. On the inside, he really enjoys being a kid, but it's very important to, on the outside, be seen as the adult babysitter, as the old guy. And so now when the servant finally comes home, he tries to scold her for being late, and she says, I don't have to answer to you, shut up. And then he tries to scold her and say, now I'm going to leave these kids with you, swear that they won't get hurt. And she says, go away. I don't need to explain myself to you. Of course they're not going to get hurt. And then he makes one final comment about don't say stupid things, don't say peasant folk tales to these kids. Don't be such a boring old grandma to them. And she basically says, get out. So really the insight we get into Kolya's character with this peasant lady is that he can be very condescending and thinks he's more educated than everyone, can talk down to anyone, but in reality, he's just a small child emotionally.